I just thought, I'm like, okay, yeah, we're going in this very cold cave. There's some water down here. And then out of
Uh-huh.
nowhere, just right over your head.
Wow. I mean, well, they sound like very trained, well-trained bats. I don't
That
know.
was bad.
I mean, I don't know if that's a thing. I've never been around those species ever in my life. Um, so you all did do like the zip lining and all that stuff too
Yeah, we
at
did
night?
all of it, yeah. And it was nice. Like, I mean, because they also like it came with, like really, really great food. Like, unlike Disney and all that, like you the food like is a part of your ticket. And for it
Oh,
to
okay,
be,
that's nice.
you know, park food, it was probably some of the best food.
Right. You know, it's almost like whenever I go to New York, I always tell people the street food is always the best. You have to kind of be
I
well, because and but
really
hear me out, hear me out. You have to be very careful and selective, right? Like everything on the corner is not good. But when you find like I've probably eaten a lot of street food. I mean, shout out to all the new people watching this, but they're probably going to disagree with me. But I don't know. Maybe I haven't been to New York enough. But I love the street food. And of course, I love the pizza.
Okay.
Who's not
I,
going to like the pizza? You know,
I don't think I've ever had it when I've gone up there.
you should try the dollar. I mean, I don't know if it's a dollar anymore, but because what's a dollar nowadays?
Right,
You know, but the pizza, you definitely should try the pizza. And you get it's like thin slices, but they're huge, they're
right,
massive.
right.
And they're like, it's a perfect little snack after a show or, you know, something like that. I love pizza. Pizza's great. Okay, but anyway, all right. But so hello, everyone. My name is Billy Hawkins, and I am so excited that you decided to take this time out and whatever that you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you just woke up in the morning, you're about to wash dishes or do laundry or something. Yeah, you. So excited that you decided to take this time out to join in this conversation. This is a series of candid conversations that I am starting to do, I'm going to continue to do with choreographers who are in the field of dance today, who are creating all types of stuff. I come from a concert dance background, maybe a smidge of commercial dance, but probably not. And so I know that there are creatives and collaborators and artists who are, especially in these times, creating some of everything. And so I got this idea, why not sit down with people who are creating and people who are generating wonderful ideas, specifically in the field of dance, and just to get an idea of their processes. And I'm always fascinated with how things are made. Myself being a choreographer, I really think on a daily basis, really on how does a dance get to whatever performance arena that it may be, a traditional stage or public space, or I don't know, underwater, I guess that's the thing now, or maybe on the top of a building, who knows? Like where what's the genesis of that process, and then what happens in between. So I'm so excited for to have these conversations. And this is the first installment of what I know will be a conversation that continues to grow in a platform that I believe will serve artists as they continue to be exactly who they are. So I'm not going to assume that you know who I am. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. So once again, my name is Billy James Hawkins III. That's my whole government name. You can quote me on that. And I'm born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. So the city of Motown, shout out to Motown and all those people doing wonderful things. And simply put, I'm a creative. I love to create experiences. I love to create spaces like these. And of course, I love to create dance and to create moments where people can come together and experience art of all kinds, really, because I truly believe that it transforms and it has the power to heal. So yeah, enough of all of that. I have this wonderful artist with me today who I can probably say with full awareness, I've probably known you for what, a month now? Like just probably a month.
Two. It's
Maybe two.
now.
Okay, well, January. Okay, but then there was like a little, like a brief pause, like January, and then the show and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But anyway, I have a wonderful, I'm like so elated to have the first installment with this particular artist. And I want to go ahead and give him his own space and time to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about who he is.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Billy. I really appreciate you having me on and having me as the first guest. I'm really honored and excited for you and to have this choreographers on choreographers continue to develop. But anyways, hi everyone. I'm Atarius Armstrong. Some people also call me AT. That has been my nickname since like kindergarten. So a lot of my dance colleagues also still call me AT. I am the artistic director of ALA Dance here in Atlanta, Georgia. We are a multidisciplinary contemporary dance company comprised of creatives across different movement modalities. So a lot of our movement is comprised of acrobatics, tricking, martial arts influence, heavy on the floor work, you name it, we probably do it. Yeah, outside of that, I come from a musical theater background. I graduated from the University of Mississippi in 2015 with a BFA in musical theater. After hopping around for about 6-ish years performing, I decided to pivot. By day, I work in tech as a consulting analyst, and I then started ALA Dance in the summer of 2020.
And I don't think I ever asked you specifically how you got into, like, because you do a lot of floor work. Like that is one of the things that attracted me to your company, and to just you as an artist, that you do a lot of floor work. And I'm always interested to hear how people got into that type of dancing, because like the way I got into that, it just feels like it was just so many different, it wasn't just a straight, oh yeah, I'm a dancer and I'm doing floor work. It was like I was doing the polar opposite before. Like I was doing Cunningham technique and Lamone, like things that were just like, no, we're not doing these acrobatics and these tricks. So like, how did you, what was your journey to this type of movement?
It's been all over the place. So I'm a late bloomer. I did not start dance until I was about 18, I guess. I mean, of course, I did musicals and show choir in high school, but I didn't take my first real dance class until freshman year of college. And so I didn't start with floor work. I started with tap dance. So
oh wow, vastly different.
yeah, my college professor, Renee Pulliam, love her dearly. One of the first things she told me as I was, starting to register for my classes was, she was like, do you know how to tap? And I said, no. And mind you, she's this lady, she like is from New York, well, lived mostly in New York, from California, but she can come off a little bit aggressive, but that's not her thing. She's like, do you know how to tap? And I'm like, no, this shy freshman who's like barely knowing what they are in college for. And I was like, no. And she's like, well, as a Black man, you got to know how to tap if you're going to be in musical theater. And I'm like,
well,
okay. So I signed up for my first tap class, and boy, was it a struggle. And mind you, this was like after I had already tried auditioning for our student dance company. I didn't make it. I was like just shy. My other professor, Jen, came up to me afterwards and was like, I think you did great, but just because of like how many people we have to cut it at, like I unfortunately was on, but she's like, I see a lot of promise in you, especially as a social dancer. And so I was like, oh, she sees promise in me. So I was like, let me keep going. So then that's when I signed up for tap dance that next semester. Struggle. But One of the great things about it was our teacher at the time, Lindsay Fine, she offered lots of different styles like within the tap class. So there'd be some days, typically on like Fridays, um, where she would just switch it up and be like, okay, take out your tap shoes. We're gonna learn some tap shoes, we're gonna do some contemporary dance. And something about it just like kind of felt right, even though I was still struggling a little bit. I was like, this contemporary dance stuff feels it feels right. So I kept going for it, took ballet, took modern, took contemporary, and I was like, okay, hate ballet, I don't want to do it. You know, contemporary was like, it was fun. Our teacher was like super, super fun, but modern just felt really good on me somatically, I guess. So I was just like, let me keep doing that. And so I don't know, something about just like being on the floor felt right. Maybe it's because I'm lazy and I don't like
Not lazy.
I'm not lazy, but you know, something about it. I'm just like, there's lots to explore here. Let me just stay here and keep working down here. The floor is not going anywhere. It's not gonna fight against me. I like gravity is just gonna take me down there. So, you know, it's like I might as well work with it. But like this whole acrobatics and tricking stuff, I'm not a gymnast. I don't have an acrobatics background. But I enjoy just like trying new things. And I think like, you know, in my past life, maybe I was probably a gymnast.
Right.
But, you know, after taking like workshops with Pilabolus, I was like, all this weight sharing and just like fully giving into someone else, like all of that kind of like felt right in my body, especially as I was like starting to build strength and weight train a lot more. I was just like, just go for it, do the crazy stuff, like, you know, a very like Elizabeth Shrev in a way, like do the shit that's a little bit scary. Can I say that?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I don't know.
Okay.
Can you? Yeah.
Like do stuff that's gonna scare you a little bit, do the risk-taking stuff. So yeah, that's that's kind of where I landed. But yeah, it's just
That's so,
all over the place.
yeah, right. That's so fascinating because you and I share similar stories, although I did not start in tap. And I have yet to put on a pair of tap shoes. I don't think that's my portion. Shout out to all the tappers out there listening. That is such a style and a kind of dance that makes me kind of nervous, if I'm quite honest about the situation. And
Yeah.
like though I consider myself also a very rhythmic dancer. I love rhythms. I love that kind of specificity. It just doesn't work out when the tap is involved for some reason. It's just if all the rhythm goes out the window. It's almost like it's almost the same story like when I do like step dance or something. One would think like I've studied African and African contemporary dance. Like one would think I'm just, yeah, like you're good to go. No, I'm always the person who gets cut in like all the step dances. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's try new things. Like, you know, let's be spontaneous and let's get out of your comfort zone. And I'm always excited, but then I'm always the one cut literally because it takes me too long to get it.
That's funny.
And I also think it's a problem with how it's taught. Like they, you know, they just go 5, 6, 7, 8. They do the rhythm and
In tap dance or in step dance?
step, not in tap. Tap is a bit more, I don't know. The environment is more educational versus to me presentational.
Okay,
For
okay,
step
that
dance,
makes sense. That makes sense. I
yeah,
get it. I haven't step danced in some years. I used
yeah.
to when I was like in 10th grade, I think it was,
Uh-huh.
as
Uh-huh.
part of this like I don't know if I can say fraternity names. Um
Uh-huh.
maybe I can. So I was like a part of this botillion. It was done by the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity back home
Uh-huh.
in Jackson. Um, and they had all of us like 10th and 11th graders
Mm-hmm.
like putting on like a pageant, but like part of the whole process was like learning to step and build community.
Mm.
Um, and here it was, boy, I thought you can tell me nothing because I'm like, I'm already a dancer. I am in show choir. I have rhythm.
Yes. Yes. Like we know what we're doing.
Like, no, get to the back. You don't got that funk we need.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no, you're right. It is something definitely different about it, like just in
And,
terms of like,
yeah. And then you know what else it is too? This just came to me. It's you're not just learning one thing off the bat. Like case in point, maybe floor work or just in like modern dance. You can maybe just follow the pathways or the port de bras or something and kind of finesse your way through. I feel with step dance, you need to know what the hands are doing, what the feet are doing, what the upper body, like it's multiple means of coordination all at the same time. Like, and then my feet are doing a rhythm and it's just too much. It's too much. But I I I started in ballet. Like that was my introduction to dance. And I actually thought I had a late start. I started at 14. You started at 18. So there's that. Um, and it's similar to you. I ballet was just extremely hard. I was like, why am I here? But I had mentors like my professor, I mean not my professor, but my instructor in high school, Anthony Smith of Cass Technical High School. Um, he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and so I just had to believe that. I was like, oh, you think I can dance and I look horrible. Like I'm at the bottom of the barrel of the class, but you believe in me, so I'm just gonna receive that. And then then cut to moving from North Carolina or moving from Detroit to North Carolina, getting into modern dance. And similar to you, I was like, this is starting to feel right. Ballet, maybe not so. I'm gonna still do it because people are saying I need to do it. But I was like, there's something about modern dance or just in contemporary dance that made sense. I really didn't start to find who I was as a mover until undergrad at School of the Arts in Winston-Salem when I started to do counter technique. And it was just like, I don't know if you ever heard of it or if anyone has ever heard of it. Look it up, counter technique. It's amazing. Um, it was just like, oh wow, like dance is for me. And it's about finding out who I am and how it works for my body and not necessarily trying to look like someone else or something else or kind of reinforce these many stereotypes about what it means to be a dancer, to be a Black dancer, to be all of that type of stuff. I was like, no, it's just it's an experience, a journey just for myself. So and then I was like, well, I guess this is what I'm doing for my life now. Like I'm in high school. I've spent quite some time dancing. That in my mind, it was too late to change and like do something else. But of course, it was like that was not late at all. I said, well, I'm just going to go to college to do this. And like, I'm just going to study dance. But it wasn't until grad school where I was like, I'm going to be a choreographer. I'm going to study not just the performance aspect of dance, but also choreography. And so I'm wondering what you as a person who creates dances, right? Like that, I guess that's the most simplistic definition of a choreographer. They create, generate dances. What about creating dances excites you? And what are you, I guess, what is your mission or what are you trying to do with the work that you create?
um, I think the most exciting thing about creating dances is I get all of these different bodies on stage or in a space, and this may sound like awful, but it's almost like playing dollhouse. I get to kind of just be like, you're gonna get to do this and you get to do this, but it's something
Mm,
about just being able to work with their natural skill sets and build this like Lego piece of things to kind of create
mm,
this grandiose whatever. So rarely do I just come in and I say, here's the 5, 6, 7, 8, pick
mm,
it up, good luck. I mean, well, no, I tell them good luck all the time because half the time
mm. But like, look, good luck.
possible shit.
Yeah.
But I think that, what my mission is, like it's shifted over time. Um, right now, I'm like in this space where I feel like my work should just be reflecting like where I'm at. I don't want to say where I'm at emotionally, but it's just
Mhm.
where I'm at, just within my own personal environment and reflection. And so a lot of that's coming from, my connection to my family.
Mhm.
And specifically, after my dad passed last year, that's kind of just been like where the crux of my work has been sitting, is
Mhm.
either reconnecting with him or wanting to tell him like the things that I felt like I missed that I
Mhm.
wanted to tell him, or connecting to his lineage, or connecting back to my home, like in Mississippi. So
Mhm.
that's where I'm at right now. And so I'm finding it interesting being in this process with a very diverse group of artists. And
Mhm.
um, not only, getting to connect with them through my story and everything, but also finding this thorough line within each of their stories and their family history, and how, even though we all come from these very diverse and I guess displaced, I don't want to say displaced, but that's the word I'll use for now, displaced backgrounds,
Mhm.
they're still all so very similar. Um, so I'm kind of enjoying that aspect right now, and then just throwing all of the craziness on top of it. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, sometimes, it shifts a little bit. Sometimes I'm like, oh, let's focus on some political reflection, which is rare, but it shifts from time to time. Last year, the duet that I did, with Caleb and Leah, it started as like this thing that was supposed to be all about trauma resiliency, and how we as Black people, or not just Black people, but we specifically use laughter and comedy as a form
Mhm.
of resilience from trauma, and specifically how we at like turn to Twitter, tweeting like
Mhm.
all of some of the craziest stuff I had ever seen over the past 2 years, because that's kind of all we had due to the pandemic, was just being online, and let's just like kind of block out all of the craziness that's going on. But then it shifted from, okay, being about the laughter and just being a little bit more serious and focusing on, um, how is it that we continuously push through all of these um, all of these traumatic events
Mhm.
continuously, you know, and how do we happen to have like this superhuman strength? Um, so yeah, that's kind of where my work ebbs and flows.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's I'm just I'm just trying to take all of that in because I think that that's amazing and also massive. I was so I'm actually thinking about the exact same things. And thinking about how because it all started when countless of Black people, not just Black boys, not just Black men, but Black people all across the diaspora were just day by day, by the moment, just fleeing this world, dying or being murdered, senseless murder. It's just like, and I was just thinking, how are we as a Black community in particular, how are we still going? How are we still like, how are we pushing through all these traumatic experiences, right? So like we're suffering as a community, right? That we're all experiencing these deaths together, but then let's also think about what we're dealing with individually or in our own communities, our own families. And here we are yet again, still persevering. And I thought about how that's directly connected to just our lineage and our history. We've had to laugh to keep from crying a lot of times. That has been the medicine, you know, giving our circumstances and our many present realities throughout history. There has been this notion inside of us of there's no matter how bad it gets, no matter how rough or tough it gets, it's like we don't have the option to quit. Not because we're trying to prove a point, but because we know that there's perhaps a reason to all of this, or that there is truly something brighter and greater on the other side of all of this suffering and trauma and pain. And I started to think, as a mover and as a dancer, how do we embody that? What does that do? What does that do for us on a physical level? We can kind of think what it does on a mental level, right? And on a spiritual level even, but like, what does that do for us on a physical level? How does that impact how we negotiate literally physically throughout our day, through our daily lives, right? Does it cause us to draw closer to people or further away from people? Are we expressive in how we use our bodies, or do we kind of conceal things? You know, are we, for instance, when I used to love to run. I don't run anymore. Come on, God. I used to love to run. But now, you know, and I've always, by the grace of God, lived in communities that, you know, I could just safely go and run, like early in the morning or late at night. Then when all the things started to happen, I started to physically change the way I run. I never used to run and always look over my shoulder. That was just it didn't make sense for me. Look in the direction that you're headed. But then the current events of the world made me do otherwise. I was physically existing in this world differently. You know, I'm watching my shoulder, I'm watching my environment, my eyes are peeled open more. And I just couldn't help but to think, you know, like, how is that truly impacting us day to day physically? And I think that's massive. And I don't know, I don't know my endpoint. I don't know if there's a moral to this whole thing, but I do find that, and I agree with you, I do find that because choreographers and creators, we tend to get inspiration from a lot of things. But I've always found that the most deepest, and I don't know who said it, but like the most deepest and authentic work comes from a personal place, or comes from a place where you have a lot of knowledge about or experience about. And I've been finding lately that I'm turning inside more versus looking for external things to kind of be the stimulus to get me going, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Because I know myself, I'm just like, I've found myself creating my strongest work when it's like definitely coming from an internal place, and I've had time to sit and rest on it and meditate and journal and research and find like outside inspirations to kind of influence it. But I think it's also interesting that you say, you know, not necessarily being influenced by the outside. And sometimes I feel like the outside actually gives me a good reflection on what I may be missing inside, that I can then kind of start to reroute and focus on. I was reading this morning, and I was reading this novel by Elin Harris, Just As I Am. It's like the second book in this series. And one of the things that the main character was going through, his best friend had just passed, and there was this whole thing about how you know, he was with his therapist and hadn't actually grieved the loss of his friend yet, and it had been like about 2 months. And I'm noticing this character who was like going through all of these different actions that their friend asked them to take care of before he passed. But because he's been continuously going through his life, doing exactly what was being asked of him, doing X, Y, and Z to take care of whatever needs to be taken care of, and then right back into work. He never really got the time to grieve. Um, he yeah, he had never really gotten the time to grieve. Like at
Mm.
the end of the chapter, they asked, the therapist asked him, "Have you cried over your friend yet?" And he says, "No." And I'm just like, I forget like what that feeling was like there's always the 7 stages of grief. And I'm like,
Yeah.
there's this weird in between stage that happens right before. I don't want to say it happens right before the grief. Maybe it's like in different pockets of the stages, but it's like this weird transitional phase that if you don't take the time to nurture it and actually allow yourself to start feeling, it's
Yeah.
rough. And I was like,
Wow.
I don't miss that feeling, but I also remember exactly what that in between
Mm.
was like not only when my father passed, but when other family members have passed, that, you know, especially, well, no, especially when my dad passed, it was just kind
Mhm.
of like, okay, I gotta get back to work. Like, okay, your 3 days of leave are up, back to looking for a new project, back to doing this. And I'm like, ugh. And I feel like it
Mm.
affected the way that I continue to carry out throughout the rest of the year, like even in communications. And I don't know. So sorry, that was like a long tangent to say like how I find it interesting to have outside resources kind of influence the
Yeah.
work. And I'm like, there's a huge chunk of research that can be done there and put
Yeah.
on bodies in a space. And I am absolutely looking forward to someday exploring that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hope I'm around in whatever shape or form. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of
Thank you
course.
for that. So cabbage in the concrete. I'm just so excited to hear about whatever this is. Um, First and foremost, what was this process like? Right? Like what was this process like for you, for your dancers? And was there anything different between this creative process and perhaps ones prior?
Yeah, this one's been it's been I don't think it's any different in terms of how we cultivate material and bring ourselves to the material and our emotional backgrounds to the work. I feel like at the top of majority of what I do, it's like we have this huge, just like meditative journaling prompting process where it's like I'm asking you about your life, my life, you name it. Sometimes it gets a little bit uncomfortable and we are diving in deep and bringing that to the work. um, I feel like that has probably expanded a little bit more with this one. um, at the top of the process, like there were some questions that kind of hit home for some of us. um, but it's also been interesting navigating this because this was like the first time. No, it's the second time, but yeah, it's the first time we've had to kind of like deal with um re-navigate it due to COVID, re-navigate
Mhm.
it due to other factors, re-navigating due to I'm not happy with what I'm seeing and it's not a
Mhm.
thing, it's a me thing. Um, because you'll have like one thing that you envision in your head and then you see it in space and it's like that is not what should be
Mhm.
happening. And
Mhm.
so it's been interesting navigating this because I'm like, this work does not feel like it's something that should be finished within 10 minutes, you know. I'm like, this work has to be extended. We just closed out the piece this past weekend,
Yes.
and you know, I thought I finished it the weekend before and was just like, that felt noisy. I gotta redo that. I come in this weekend, I have something. I'm like, that's still not it.
Mm.
Literally 3 minutes later, I'm like, okay, let's try this. And luckily, like my team is like very collaborative. And so I'm very open about everyone having agency and being able to, you know, present ideas and suggestions. Um, Typically, they can see things better than I can because, you know,
Mhm.
they're the ones doing the work and on the stage. And sometimes they can see things that I'm missing because I'm so used to just kind of like making sure, okay, let's make sure that this is clean. Or I'm thinking about, you know, how am I gonna schedule for this workshop I'm envisioning next summer and then plan for
Right.
next season. So, you know, all of these like different artistic director things and not just the choreographer thing. So sometimes it's challenging because I'm like, okay, stay present, stay focused, figure out what's going on here. But yeah, that's kind of like been what the process has been like. It's been rewarding, you know, coming in and trying new things all the time. Whether it's like some lift I'm asking them to do or some trick or something. Um, but yeah, they've been staying, you know, very present, very patient, and just super driven within the work, which is nice. I feel like I
Mhm.
haven't even like mentioned like what it's about.
Well, and I didn't ask because, so I despise, and I think, flashback to our conversation at Tentacle Tribe, right? I despise asking those questions. What is this dance about? Or what? Like not that I despise it. I don't. Let me go back. Okay, cut that. Let me go back. I don't despise it. I try to get to that another way, right? Like I try to approach that question in a more indirect way where what comes out just comes out, and people piece things together. So I mean, you can feel free to talk about what it is or however you want to approach that question. Yeah, it's always interesting because I don't know, and maybe this is a part of your response, but how do you deal with those type of questions? Perhaps if people come up to you after a show or after a showing and they say, I got this, but I didn't get that, or why a red wig and not a black wig? I don't know, like those type of questions. And so for me, I just go, you probably just missed the whole point. But, and I don't really say that out loud, but but it's sometimes I go to think, well, what do you think? I don't know, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
why do
yeah.
you?
So okay, I'm gonna try to remember it in like different parts. So what the piece is about, and then how do I deal with responses. Um, so the piece is about connection to lineage and generational healing. I was inspired by my grandfather, who is my dad's dad. Um, he grew a cabbage in his concrete.
I
How?
love
I
that.
don't know, but it made me think about, how I wanted to start rebuilding some form of connection with my father's side of the family. And also, like, how did this vegetable like grow in this such a strange place, you know? Um,
Mhm.
how do we as humans like grow within this like strange place that is present day?
Mhm.
um and also like just like thinking about, just all of the different layers that come with a cabbage and how that can be applied to our families, our personal lineage, and all of the stories and aspects that come along with it. So that's kind of the trajectory that I was going in when creating the work. And of course, like some things shifted. I think the actual like initial concept shifted a lot. I don't even think, and now that I think about it, the initial work wasn't even called Cabbage in the Concrete. It was called Metabasis.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which was gonna be something totally different. I was envisioning like uh this like large picture frame that's like 5 foot by 6 feet that they would
Okay.
be able to roll around and hang on and do all this crazy stuff on. Um, and then after like prompting and asking about, you know, how they felt connected to the lives before them or any story, like just stuff like that. And I was like, huh, just the way that they were answering the questions and some of the reoccurring things that kept coming up with their responses, I was like, Cabbage in the Concrete is what's happening
Mm.
here. I had been thinking about it for months and months and months, um, and was just like, okay, I'm doing it with this group of people, and this is now the work that we're doing.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's that. And then how do I deal with um, responses to the work and not just saying, here's the answer? Um, I've been getting like told to, you know, as much as, you know, we as artists want to like kind of like be like a little bit more like reserved in terms of how much we give them. I have to be willing to give more so that they actually get what is happening. Um, so I try to leave it open to people and even to my dancers sometimes. I try to leave it open just in terms of, you know, well, what are you gathering from it? You know, I've given you the framework.
Mhm.
What are you making out of it? But I think the real draw, like I'll usually tell you, you know, this is what I was inspired by. This is what the concept is. Um, but I never like asking or answering, you know, um, how it made you feel. I can't
Yeah.
tell you how to feel. You're gonna draw that. Like I think the question that like is weird to me is just like, um, how do you want the audience to respond to this? Or how do you want the audience to feel? And I'm like, I don't know. And quite frankly, I don't care that much. Like,
Right.
I I mean, like, I want for them to enjoy it. Like, I want for them to come and see a performance that, you know, is a little bit exciting, has like all of these different elements of whatever thrown into it and is like well crafted. But I don't want to be like, oh yeah, you need to be leaving crying every single night, or know, I want for them to go out into the world and take action. And like, that's fine. There's people out there to do that. And I'm not saying that I can't or won't ever make work like that, but I don't, it's just, I don't know. And
Yeah.
like I want
Yeah.
you to feel happy in this moment. I want you to be sad. Like, no, you're gonna feel what you feel because, you know, your past uh events and just things that have happened in your life are gonna help shape your response to the work. You
Mhm.
know, you and I can maybe sip the same black coffee, but because of our previous experiences with black coffee, maybe it's something that has been like a family thing for me, and I've grown to like love it or appreciate some of the nuances in it. But because maybe it's brand new to you and you've been drinking like a standard latte with a sweetener, that's going to hit differently for you. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing
Mm-hmm.
is going to be for any art viewer. Our responses are going to be different. And so I don't feel like it's fair of me to ever be like, they got to get this from it. I mean, sure, I want the communication to be somewhat clear in terms of what the concept is here or the research that's been done behind it. But man, putting too much
Yeah.
responsibility in my pocket to say.
Right. And I also think part of the issue is that the wrong question is being asked. Because I understand the intentions behind, how do you want the audience to feel, that sort of thing. How do you want them to walk away? For me, I think it's more so, how do I wish the audience to engage with the work? Because that's very general. Because how you engage with the work in present time, or even if you're watching a re-recorded version of it, or whatever the case may be, is predicated upon your experiences. It will be predicated upon your history and where you come from. Like, that's going to influence how you are thinking in the present moment as you are watching bodies or lights and sets or whatever it is in the performance space. And that's always been I need to go write that down, actually. That was the first time I could articulate it that way. But yeah, it's because I think it's about, there's a book called Bodies in Motion. I think it's by Susan Manning or someone. I probably got that all wrong. But it's like the thoughts in motion. Like, how are you constantly thinking about whatever you're thinking about in the present moment? Is it shifting? Is it staying the same? Is it on an arc of some type? And it's not, and for me, I'm not necessarily interested in the particulars of those thoughts, although I will be more than interested in hearing them. But for me, yeah, it's about like, how are those thoughts, how are those things, like, a lot of times when people view my work, they say, wow, I felt conflicted at one point. And my first question is, it's not what did you feel conflicted about, or what two things or what parties were in, conflict with each other. It's, how was that happening? What did you perhaps see that made, that sparked that conflict, so it's, I don't know, it's almost as similar to how I teach. It's like, I'm concerned about the process that I am about the product. And that for me is very sophisticated in general. Okay, what am I supposed to be doing right now? Let's see here. Yeah, I told you structure, then not structure. But I'm here. So really quickly, and I can ask a myriad of questions and things of that nature, but you brought up this idea of you like your dancers, and they're, because I'm hearing you not just saying dancers but also collaborators. And I found myself saying dancers less and collaborators more, because and thinking about the dancer when they're in my rehearsal space, me as a choreographer, other choreographers can highly differ from it. I'm also not just interested in them being a dancer within the space, but also as a myriad of other things, like also being a creator, also being a choreographer, also being a philosopher, also being a thinker, also being, someone that goes beyond dancing out the steps. So I'm wondering, what are you interested in terms of someone that you work with? Because I'm thinking perhaps Wayne McGregor is looking for a certain type of dancer collaborator that may differ from Ronald K. Brown, or may differ from Crystal Pite, or may differ from a Beyonce choreographer, may differ from what's his name? He does the commercial dances he does all the aerials and splits. Oh, his name's going to come to me by the end of this conversation. Brian Friedman. Is it Brian and Friedman?
Brian,
or whatever? Yeah,
Brian
I think
Friedman. Yeah.
you know, like I'm sure there's similarities. We can always dive deep to find similarities, but there's also probably distinct things that they're looking for in a dancer collaborator.
Absolutely.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for thought leaders. I am looking for, you don't necessarily have to come in as an athlete, but a willingness to train and become stronger. Um, I am looking for people who are also just open to play. You know, we are very very silly, and a lot of the time, like, I try not to take some of it too serious because I'm just
Mhm.
like, things are gonna shift, we're gonna explore. Like, I may come in with this one idea, and it may be something completely different opening night, because we have to learn how to pivot and structure for what feels right currently, what feels right for the future as well. Like, how will this turn into something that can then be carried into repertoire that can then be repeated over years' time, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm looking for people with just like a wide array of skill sets. So, like, if you're a prima ballerina, that's fine. Come in as a prima ballerina, but be willing to explore and try new things and do something that is like completely left field from standard ballet or classical ballet.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I'm looking for people who probably have never danced a day in their life, and they're wanting to try something different, and they've taken some form of yoga class, and they're like, something about how I'm moving my body just feels right.
Mhm.
So I think the primary thing I'm always looking for is just like a strong collaborator, and that is something that is like also a part of our audition process. So I'm seeing how you get to work with others. I'm like actively watching how everything is being sorted through your process and how you communicate with each other. And it was rough, let me tell you.
Mm.
Our past audition was hard. Like, I had to
Wow.
turn down some people that I really wanted to have, but budget wise, I had to put a cap at
Yeah.
9 people. Um, and which I think goes to also like say that Atlanta has some ridiculous people who are just creative collaborators who are also training in all types of ways. Like, I'm talking people doing martial arts, kickboxing, yoga, aerials, stunts, you name it. And I am just enjoying like how they all bring that into the work that they do.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for. Am I gonna be looking for more in the next season? I haven't decided yet.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I often say I'm looking for people who are willing vessels. I always characterize my collaborators, be it they are dancers, whatever background they come from, disciplined dancers, artists, visual artists, painters, musicians, composers. I'm like, what I wish is for you to be a vessel, because vessels, though they are what they are, the moment they are filled with whatever, something transforms. And that transformation most of the time is a beautiful thing, because it had the vessel has to first realize what's happening. And oftentimes there is this kind of conflict of, oh, this is different, right? It's almost like going to a chiropractor and getting your bones realigned and your muscles are on fire the next day, because they're trying to figure out what is this new orientation. But then after a while, it's like, oh, this is what this is. Let me investigate this more. Let me see how I can form and shape what I am already around this like new reality. And that's what I look for in my dances, because one is like you're coming into this space with a lot of information and knowledge already. You wouldn't be here if I didn't know that. But then it's like, how do we take that knowledge, that experience, that all of that? How do we take it and put it on a path that affirms it, that challenges it, that manipulates it, like all of that stuff. Like how do we, what is the journey like? And being a vessel, you just have to be willing to constantly be poured in, but also pour out, because not only am I there as a choreographer, I'm also a student and a dancer as well. And I'm looking at my collaborators saying, okay, what do you have to give me, right? I'm pouring into you, but I also want you to pour out. I want you to give. I want you to participate. And I found that is that's not like all across the board for certain choreographers. There are choreographers out there, and you're probably watching right now. You're like, no, this is my steps. I do the 5, 6, 7, 8. When you see this work, this is not choreographed by such and such in collaboration with, this is all my, ideas from start to finish. And I'm like, dittos to that. Like, absolutely, I'm here for that. But I found like it is so hard for me to work that way. And it's so challenging for me to work that way. Because it's not like going back to that whole like emotion and embodiment. It's like, I can't.
Let me ask you this. I'm gonna throw you off for a second. What's your sign?
My sign?
Yeah.
I'm an Aquarius.
Okay.
I just had this conversation yesterday, actually, in the Uber. I'm an Aquarius.
Okay. I was only asking because I'm like, you sound a lot like me, and I don't know if it's because I'm a water sign that I'm like always trying to stay so malleable.
Very, very malleable.
I am the exact same way.
Yeah, very. And I was actually writing about this the other day. I was like, one particular area that I am looking forward to growing in as a creator is, I'm always, just like my teaching, I'm always interested in blurring the lines between whatever. So for instance, when I look at the studio space, the class space, I wish to blur the lines between the studio and the stage. How does the studio become a performance space as well, even though we're taking technique class or whatever? Same thing with rehearsal, and same thing with me as a creator. I'm like, I'm a choreographer and I'm also a dancer. And how do I blur those lines of what it means to be a choreographer? Do I always have to be upfront? Do I always have to be the one creating the steps? Do I always, and I think that's why I use improvisation so much in my process, because it forces me to have to engage with the dancers and really see what they can offer to the overall process. But just if like everything comes from me, I feel like I'm also not, and I could in many ways, but for me, it also feels like I'm not invested in their stories and their histories and their lineage, their legacies and their lineage, and how all of that is affecting how they are in this space, in the rehearsal space, in this work. Like as you were saying earlier, like it will impact how they move, how they, think about your choreography. Yeah, I'm just always fascinated by the type of artists people look for. Okay. I don't have nothing else to say. I think I've said so much already. This is probably going to be like a part 1 and a part 2 situation. Who knows? Okay. I'll probably find out soon. Yeah. So, but I do want to give you space to say whatever you want to say, mention whatever you want to mention, but then also I would love for you to tell everyone about the premiere of your new work, and when that is going down, where that's going down, how much it is so they can be where it's going down, and then also where they can find you in case they want to, like me, I'm moving to Atlanta. It's a new area. Okay, y'all are watching this and y'all don't know, but when I went, I say this all the time, when I went to your class, and at the top of this year, I finally felt like I was doing my part as an artist. I was like, I'm out and about and I'm socializing with people. And and that's the funny thing. Most people think I'm an extrovert, but I'm a huge introvert. I prefer to be by myself. I'm outgoing when I need to be, but after that, I could be so good just by on my own. Just give me my room, give
I
me
wouldn't
my
have guessed it.
space, let me go. So when I felt like, oh man, I'm out, I'm meeting new people, and then the environment was great. So, maybe this will serve that for someone else watching this. So okay, I talk a lot.
Cool. So yeah, we are premiering Cabbage in the Concrete March 25th and 26th at the Georgia Tech First Center for the Arts, presented by Dance Canvas. Tickets are $25. They are in our bio on Instagram if you find us on Instagram _ALA Dance, or you can just visit dancecanvas.com and find the tickets there. If you are a college student, they do offer they have a college night discount for the night of the 25th. That is, those tickets are $10, I believe. They're either $10 or $15, but either way, they're cheaper than $25. Yeah, so come out and see that work. If you just so happen to be in Gwinnett County, Dance Canvas will also have an extension that following weekend, April 2nd and 3rd. We will be presenting our duet 1221 that weekend. Yeah, so that's what we got coming up. If you are, looking for a dance class to come and attend, we've got a couple coming up. We've got 5 left through the season. Every other Sunday, we have an open company class presented by each of our company members, because I truly believe in the power of collaboration and learning from each other. That is truly how we build together and truly communicate via our physicalities. So our next class, I don't know when this is actually coming out, but in case this comes out before then, our next class is not this Sunday, but the Sunday after, March 20th, I believe.
So the 27th.
Ooh, no, not the 27th.
You said the Sunday after the 20th or the 20th?
No, the Sunday of the 20th.
Oh, okay. That's not it.
So yeah, March 20th is our next class, taught by Jen Clammer. She is teaching release technique. Yeah, it'll be really fun. Everyone teaches a super awesome class. We've got a jazz class coming up, an acrobatics and floor works class, an acrobatics and tricking class, and a guided improvisation class, contemporary, you name it, we are doing it. So yeah, come out, come dance with us. We're fun. We're not like an intimidating company. We are always looking to, move with everyone.
So basically, everybody just click all the links in every bio. Just click.
Click all the links. If you find it, just open it, click on it, like it.
That's what we need to do. And also a day before the premiere, right? Because that your work is premiering March 25th. And there's 2 performances, right? March 25th and March 26th.
Yes. The day before is the Dance Canvas film premiere, which I know you are in, Veronica.
Which I am in. Yes, I'm so excited. I was so excited to do. So the film that I'm dancing in is by another wonderful artist and choreographer by the name of Veronica Silk. She is absolutely amazing. Just big ups to her, and her entire everything was just, she did an amazing job with seeing this entire work, through from start to finish. So that is March 24th. I'm not even going to try to go through all of the D's. I'm just going to say, click that link, child. Click the link and all will be answered. All will be answered. But I'm excited. This is actually literally my first professional work here in Atlanta. Like that so it's my big, I guess, dance debut as an artist in Atlanta. So there's that. So we hope to see all of you who are in Atlanta, near Atlanta, or if you like to drive, maybe you drive here on those days, the 24th, 25th, and the 26th, and then the following weekend and at these classes. All right. Is that it? Is that all? Did we talk enough? Did we say enough?
For now.
All right, for now. Right. Did we say? Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in once again. My name is Billie Hawkins, and I hope that you thoroughly enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. I'm pretty sure we both did. And please be on the lookout for more installments and more to come. Please follow the Third Collective, and you can also follow my regular page at Billie J Hawkins. Just pay close attention to how you spell my last name, because people have been fighting me. I can't find you. And I'm like, how did you spell my last name? Yeah, there we go. It's a bit different. So yeah, be sure to follow us all so you can stay up to date on everything that is happening. Peace and love to y'all.